Okay, means the AD is required for the security professionals as well as for the identity management professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So each one will have a different point of view and different type of understanding requirements. Not understanding, I can say requirements. Okay, so when we speak from the identity management point of view, it's more from okay when you try to take AD, where we speak about. Let me share my screen.
Yeah.
I believe we have another person, Santu.
Yes, funny.
Yes, Santu. Probably, I'm not sure if you're a friend of Abhishek or is it completely different?
Sorry.
Okay, so Santu, can you give me a little background about yourself?
Yeah, I'm fresher. I learned AVD and Intune. In AVD, there is like Azure Active Directory, which we are using, but I don't know much on that. So that I want to learn that AAD and EAD for this,
Okay,
which helps to that AVD and Intune.
okay, okay, fine. Fine. Thanks, Santu. Hi, Priya.
Yes.
Priya, can you hear me?
No, no, no. This one.
Who's okay? Seems like you're okay. Okay, so let's try to understand what. Okay, as I said, there are two different point of views. Okay, from the AD. Okay, one is the security part. Second one is on the identity and access management part. Okay, so when you're trying to speak about AD, Abhishek and Santu, so accurately will be helpful for your centralized authentication mechanism. Centralized authentication mechanism. And also, at times you can also use for the authorization mechanism. So what is the difference between authentication and authorization? Authentication will help you understand whether that user name and the password is right username, and if the username is correct, then whether the username has the right password to say that, okay, this person is a valid person in my company. Then the authorization will say, can this person can access a particular resource. For example, a printer can be a resource, a file can be a resource, a file server can be a resource, a Windows server can be a resource. Whether the person is authorized to access the resource. So accurately can be useful for both authentication mechanism as well as the authorization mechanism. Means you can verify your identity, means I'm the valid user. At the same time, I can also see if my resource is, if I want to log into a particular resource, if I want to access certain resource, whether I'm authorized to do the resource access. So accurately will be useful for both the purposes based on the requirements. Now, when you're trying to do AD, so there's something called as domain. In the Windows, if you take a Windows Server 2019 or 2022, 2012 and is mostly retired. Now we have three active versions of Windows: 2016, 2019, and 2022. Okay, these are the three active Windows versions available in the market. And when you would like to build AD, what we require is one of the Windows Server operating system. Okay, it doesn't work with the client. So you can't install the AD on a Windows 10 machine. You require a Windows Server operating system, and Active Directory is one of the role in the Windows. So it's not a separate purchase. When you purchase a Windows OS, Active Directory is an integral part, and you don't need to pay any additional license for the Active Directory. So in a company, for example, when I'm having multiple, let's say I'm having 100 laptops and I have 100 users, I can't individually create a user account in the laptop. So what I generally use is a centralized authentication mechanism, something like an AD. So if you take in the market, AD is one of the popularly used tool, and there are some third-party tools like Okta or One Login, which will help you to do a cloud-based authentication. But AD is still popular on the on-premise, and along with the Microsoft 365 or Office 365, that is one of the primarily used tool in the market. And when you want to set up AD, what we set up is something called as domains. So domain is more like a logical structure where you define a boundary, what people can share or what people cannot share. So the domain will be like a logical structure. For example, if you take um, your home. Okay, so in my apartment, my home has some four boundaries, four walls. Inside that wall, that's my home. In the similar way, I can define something called as domain. It's more like a logical structure where I say that okay, these are the 15 people belonging to my company, and I create that company as a domain. So domain name is a fully qualified domain name, FQDN, like learning.net, or it can be like abc.com. So it can be anything which you can keep that as a fully qualified domain name with learning.net or abc.com as your domain. And you can add your users to the domain. And the place where you install this domain, so there's more like a logical entity, and where you like to install on a physical server, that is called as a domain controller. Domain controller. Domain controller is a place where you install your domain and try to set up your domain structure and the authentication mechanism. So in the backend, when you're trying to install the domain controller, okay, it is called as Active Directory Domain Services, Active Directory Domain Service ADDS. It will install the backend database called as ntds.dit. That's a database it will install, and all your user accounts and passwords and relevant authentication and authorization information will be stored in the Directory Domain Services called as ntds.dit file. Generally, when you're trying to take companies, there will be multiple domains. For example, if I take Reliance, okay, Reliance is not just one single company. I have Reliance Jewels, I have Reliance Footwear, I have something else. Now, I would like to make sure that a printer in Reliance Jewels can be used by Reliance Footwear. For example, I have a store which is more like a common to both the people. So I want to share the printer from both the Reliance companies instead of setting up a new printer. So in those cases, we have something called as Forest. So Forest will help you to share resources across domains. So when you're trying to set up a domain, what we generally do is we create a forest at the top, and the forest will have domain number 1, domain number 2. And within the forest, I can share resources with the delegation mechanism. So for example, if I'm having a printer here and I would like to share from this domain, I can do that using a trust called as a transitive trust or a one-way trust as required. Whether you want like a both directions or one-way direction, we can do either a one-way trust or I can do a bidirectional trust. So that's the domain number 1, and that's the domain number 2. So where I can share the resources as required. When you're trying to speak in the courseware, Abhishek, what we try to do is we'll try to set up what is a domain, how to set up a domain in a company, and we'll try to see how to set up ADDS, what is a forest, how you set up multiple domains in a forest, a method to share resources between different domains. So when you're trying to set up a domains, for example, I want to have a high availability. Okay, if I install only one server, if that one server is down, my domain controller or my domain will be completely down. So in companies, what they generally do is they install at least domain controller on 2 different servers. So that concept is called as domain controller, the replication automated. So that replication is automated. So we'll see how to set up a domain controller, multiple domain controllers, and how to replicate the data between domain controller number 1 and domain controller number 2. And if there are any issues between the domain controllers, how you resolve the domain controller issues. That's the second topic we discussed. Then when you want to like to set up the domain controller, there's something called as DNS. So DNS stands for domain naming service. So this will help you to understand your resources better. For example, in my company, I'm having 100 computers. So computers will have a name. For example, my computer has XYZ name. Another computer will have ABC name. So computers, when I'm speaking internally, they speak on IP addresses, but humans only understand the names. So the naming service will be able to help you out to understand or to convert name to IP and IP address to name. So we'll see how to set up the DNS, and we'll also see what is an Active Directory integrated DNS and a DNS without AD. What is the difference? We'll see in the labs and also in the sessions. Then we'll try to understand how you control permissions. Okay, for example, I'm having a server. Okay, what are the different methods you can control the permissions on the server using AD? So in this case, we discuss about user creations, what is meant by groups, and how you delegate permissions on the resources to a particular user or group. Okay, then we'll also discuss about what are the different ways you can automate the processes. For example, I want to create a new user account. Okay, what are the different methods available in the AD? For example, it can be in PowerShell, it can be something called as Active Directory Administrative Center. We'll discuss on that. Then there is also something called as read-only domain controllers. So for example, if I'm having a remote location where I would like to secure if something is happened, my server is stolen. I don't want anybody to expose the username and passwords when they want to get the data from the domain controller. So in those cases, we have something called as read-only domain controllers. So we'll understand what is the read-only domain controller, how to set up a read-only domain controller, and what are the different methods we can secure the RODCs. So the short name for the read-only domain controller is RODC. Read-only domain controllers. We'll see that in the lab. At the same time, we also see something called as DHCP. We'll discuss that concepts. We don't require in detail for the AD, but we require DHCP on how an IP address is leased and what is the process for that. Then we discuss a little bit on the group policies and what is their linkage to the AD and how you manage group policies in a corporate company. So for example, I would like to install a printer on 100 computers. We generally don't go to each computer and do the printer installation. So we try to automate the process using the group policies. Or I want to change the background of the desktop. Okay, I don't go and change it manually. I use via group policies. We'll see how the group policies are set up and if there are any conflicting policies. So what will take the precedence? Okay, we'll discuss on the group policy order and how you enforce SEM settings. Then at the same time, we also discuss something called as organizational units and how OUs will help you streamline group policies. At the same time, how you can also delegate control to different people. So that's the first part on the AD part. Any questions, Abhishek?
So far fine, Bonnie. So I'm good.
Okay, super. So that's the first part on the AD. Now coming to the second part on the Azure Active Directory. So Azure Active Directory is a part of the, now it is called as Entra ID by Microsoft. They changed the name to Entra ID. So in this one, we'll discuss about how to set up a cloud-based Active Directory. And in this one, we'll also speak about, before we go to the Azure Active Directory, we'll also speak about how to set up a domain controller in Azure. Okay, this is relevant for certain topics. We'll see how to set up a domain controller in Azure and how that domain controller in Azure can be synced back to the cloud-based Active Directory. And we'll see here also on how you synchronize your on-prem AD credentials or AD users and groups to the cloud-based AD or Azure AD. There is a connector called as Azure AD connector. There is a connector called Azure AD connector, or I can say Azure AD sync. We'll see how to synchronize that one and what are the different parameters and different methods to only synchronize certain users, or you like to synchronize the entire AD. We'll see that, and how you can fine tune that, or how you can troubleshoot that. We'll see that in the Azure AD sync. Then in the Azure, there is also something called as Azure AD B2C, business to consumer. So this is useful when you are trying to use a third-party applications. For example, I'm having my let's assume I'm having something like social identities. For example, I offer uh, take a petrol app. Okay, I want to get petrol points in my company. Okay, so whenever let's assume mine is a petroleum company, I would like to offer petroleum to my customers. So whenever the petrol is purchased, I want to give them some points. Okay, so I would like to authenticate using their social media identities. For example, Gmail, Facebook. Okay, I would like to authenticate it, and I would like to make that app as a part of my AD. So we'll see something called as AD, Azure AD B2C, business to consumer. So this is completely like a application level topic, and this is part of the Azure, but not part of Azure AD, but part of the Azure AD B2C. So we'll see that and how the licensing and other things will be differential in this one. Then we also have something called as Azure AD proxy. This is more like publishing your on-prem applications securely via Azure AD. For example, I'm having my HR application, which is like an internal application. So, but I would like to publish that application to the internet, but only to the people who I authorize. So we have something called as Azure AD proxy. We'll discuss on what is that application, how you can publish that application over to the internet using Azure AD. So we'll discuss that called as Azure AD proxy. Then we also have certain things when you would like to manage Azure subscriptions. Okay, what is called as delegation of the permissions on Azure. Okay, not on your on-premise AD, but on the Azure, when you would like to delegate permissions, we can also use the Azure AD. We'll speak on that one and how you can delegate permissions on your VMs, or you would like to delegate permissions on your applications, how you delegate that, or how you integrate Azure AD with Azure-based virtual machines or services. So that's the second part in the Azure. So, um, and we'll see how we can integrate the normal cloud, your on-premise AD to the cloud, and how the DNS works in the cloud. That's another topic, how DNS works in the hybrid scenario. Means some of the things is on cloud and something on-premise, how to set up your DNS and how it works. We'll speak on that one. And we also need to partially cover virtual machines in Azure VMs. Without that, it will be like a half-baked thing. So we'll also cover what is the Azure VM and how to create Azure VM and what are the different things you can do with the Azure VMs with respect to the AD. And we'll speak about AD monitoring, Azure AD monitoring, and what are the different parameters you need to understand to monitor your performance of your Azure AD. We'll speak on that one. And also events. So any questions? That's what we cover, Abhishek, in the sessions.
Okay. Yep. So for fine, funny. So just wanted to see like whether we can be able to cover the uh, protocols related as SAML or WS, but
Yeah,
can
so
we?
we'll cover that cloud-based AD part.
Okay.
So when
Okay.
you
Okay. Okay.
so if you take the on-premise AD, that is a LDAP, and when you take the cloud-based AD, that's a SAML or
Oh,
OAuth.
okay. And the Graph API related and this AAD connect. So we are going to deal with that as well, right?
Graph API is something at this place. Okay, it is not directly will be doing the Graph API calls, but it will be part of this one B2C.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, we don't explicitly cover that, but it's part of the B2C.
Okay. Okay. Fine. And in the on-prem, few more topics wanted to check, like the AD backup or the DC recovery part.
Yeah,
AD.
that is covered in the troubleshooting. We'll cover that in the troubleshooting part. In this part, we'll cover it.
Okay, fine. And the FSM
For example, FSM roles, AD backup, or how you troubleshoot between replication failures, we'll cover in that part.
Oh, okay. Sure. And the migration related, can we able to cover it?
What is migration you're looking for?
Maybe the DCs from the 2012 to 2016 or
You can't do anything. You need to install new and then rewrite the older ones.
Okay.
So there's nothing that you can migrate or upgrade.
Okay, fine. Yeah,
For
just
example, having 2016 and 2019, you build 2019, transfer the roles.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know that as well. Yeah, we can work it in the lab.
Yeah. So there is nothing called upgrade, okay, because that's too risky in the production.
Okay, fine.
So it's
And
only you transfer the roles from one AD to other AD, sorry, one domain controller to other domain controller. That we cover in the FSMO roles, seizing and then replication.
okay, sure.
But it's not migration. It's more like you're trying to remove from the old domain controller and moving to the new domain controller.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is here. But it's not migration. I don't call it as migration, but it's more of transfer of roles.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
And
migration is more like when you have unsupported to supported.
okay.
Okay, so for example, if I'm having Windows 2012, you can't migrate from 2012 to 2022 directly. So you need to move to the 2016, then you need to move to 2019. I believe 2016 to 2022 you can do, but you can't do from 2012 to 2022
Okay. Yeah,
because of
got
the
it.
structural changes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's what we covered. Yeah, you were saying something else. Sorry.
Anything related to ADFS that would be
ADF is almost dead, Abhishek.
okay.
Yeah, I mean it's been a long time I used ADF because of the AD connector.
Mm-hmm.
So because of this one, now I remember last time I used ADFS is around some 8 to 10 years back.
Okay. Because still, if you see in my organization, right, we have one separate team. We have many around 10,000 plus applications we support through the
Yeah,
ADFS.
yeah.
We are
This will solve your problem. Azure AD proxy is the one. Actually, people should actually migrate to Azure AD proxy, which they are not
okay.
doing. So if they do this one, then you don't require ADFS at all.
Okay.
So this is the latest methodology provided by Azure
Mhm.
to limit or to remove that ADFS requirements.
Okay.
But people think problem is people are not actually using this one. If they used it, I can simply get rid of the entire ADFS concepts.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
How about the ADCS? Maybe can we cover it? The basics related, the certificate renewals. Can we able to?
I mean, it's a simple thing. We can cover that, but that will make complete deviation from the overall thing.
Okay. Maybe
Yeah,
what
we
I
can
can do, I will do
yeah.
some basic things on the ADCS, and maybe in the last of our session, can we cover that? In case of any doubts, I can reach out to the team.
Yeah, sure. So because if you take ADCS, as I said, there are two different hats. One is the
Mm-hmm.
security hat, other one is the identity part. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you come to the security part, then I say ADCS.
Mm-hmm.
If you say identity and access management, you don't get ADCS.
Okay.
Okay, so if you take the security part, then you will have some elaborated things, not covering this AD sync other things. It will be like more like how I secure my edge infrastructure, how I secure my on-premise infrastructure. That comes from the direction point of view.
Okay.
So AD falls in both the places. That's the reason I asked where you are trying to speak about.
Okay. Since I'm completely into the IAM part, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, okay, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Generally, security team will take care of this part.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So whether you take ADCS or you take about edge security or your application security, that comes under still AD, but security part.
Okay. Sure. Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm good then.
Okay. Yeah. So let me know how you like to take it up, and probably Chaitanya will discuss with you on the next steps.
Okay, sure. How to reach out to you? Or do we need to reach out
Yeah.
through Kenya?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
I'll reach
Yeah.
out to you.
Sure.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Thank you.